This video is using rope swings to identify your power source. So I'm going to talk a little bit here about the difference between iron and driver. We're going to use the rope as kind of an experiment to help you feel and train the different timings of how we want to pull on the club. This is one of the best ways I know to kind of replicate a hands-on drill that I do with a lot of my students, where I have to get in there and kind of pull on the club in specific ways and help them really feel what's going on. So the drill itself is really simple. You're basically going to swing a rope. So this is, let's say, about a 5-foot rope, and I'm just doubling it up. A lot of guys have used this, Rob Holding, Dr. Kwan. I know Sasha is a big fan. And part of the reason is because there are two major ways I can swing this the golf club around me. Because it's a rigid object, I can use either torquing the club, where basically I just get the club to rotate, or I can pull along the club, and if I pull different than the direction it's pointing, I can get the club to kind of swing that way. Some conversations with Sasha McKenzie, the better players tend to pull along the rope longer, or pull along the shaft of the golf club longer. And the neat thing is, with a rope, you can't really do anything but pull along it, or else it'll you'll lose that angle, and it'll basically you'll lose that leg and it'll release. So when we take the rope, you're just going to take a little backswing, let the rope kind of collect around you, and then you're going to take your through swing, working on whatever good mechanic you're working on. The thing that I want you to pay attention to is the direction that you're pulling compared to the rope. So when I'm up here, am I pulling it down? If I do, you'll see that it will tend to release kind of out towards the ground, or if I get up here and I pull down, you'll see that it will release behind the golf ball. The other option would be as if I was pulling it. The classic example that I've heard, I know Brian Menzel has used it recently, but I'm not sure where it originally came from, is the pulling on either the, like I have a quiver of arrows and I'm trying to pull an arrow out. Basically, by using my body turn, I'm going to be pulling this club or pulling along the shaft of the club, or along the end of the club, kind of like this. So it's not that you really need to feel like you pull it out that way. It's that if someone was holding on to this, I'm going to use my body to kind of feel like I pull that out from wherever it's attached, similar to my towel pull model. So I can get up there, and if I was to pull straight down, even if I use body turn, you'll see that it tends to pass there. Where if I pull along it, I can actually get it to whip all the way up through there. I can get it to whip well after impact. And that's where the two different patterns for the two different clubs tend to come in. With the iron, I can get away with kind of pulling down and having it whip right through there, where I'm pulling more perpendicular to the rope instead of along it. But with a driver, in order to get the club low to the ground and not bottom out or not hit the ground behind it, in order to develop this flat spot, I have to pull along it longer. So I'm going to pull all the way through, well past impact. So that model, if I was to then take a driver, go up to the top of the swing, means that I'm basically going to be pulling along the direction that the club is pointing, which basically just means I'm not going to pull with my arms, I'm going to pull with my body. So if I pull with my body, you can see right around here it looks like I'm going to be pulling that way. Right around here it looks like I'm going to be pulling that way. Right around here, if I'm pulling along it, it's pulling more that way. So the longer I kind of pull along the club, the more I'm using my body to pull along it. The more that I get up here and I pull down, that creates a ton of lag, but then it's going to tend to force this kind of releasing of that lag, which is going to tend to cause that high to low, steeper angle of attack, which tends to struggle with the longer clubs. So if I'm using the rope to help train my driver swing, then I want to make sure that I'm getting this thing to release as late as possible, or I'm pulling along the rope for as long as possible. So I'm going to try and basically get it to pull all the way through here. So I'm pull, 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 and then you'll see that my arms don't actually release until right around there. Then I can do it looking where I would be looking, so kind of looking in the direction of the golf ball. And then once I have a real good feeling of it, instead of having the rope or doubling it up, I can do it in one long position, which now it just takes a little bit more kind of discipline and timing to kind of feel exactly when to pull. Once I have that good sensation, then I can take my regular grip and setup, and I can feel like I'm gonna pull, 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 like I'm gonna release out there. So we'll move that bucket. I think it was safe, but better safe than sorry. So up to the top, and then I'm gonna pull, 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 and it's gonna feel like I'm basically snapping that towel all the way through there, as opposed to if I got up here, I pulled more down, so pulling this way instead of along it, using my arms. Now I have this steep angle, and it's gonna cause me to use that torque of the club in order to get it out. So I would pull down, and then I would use my hands to kind of throw it there. You would see that the path isn't going to work for a driver. I could make it work for an iron if I have a little bit of an upper body lunge. But overall, that pattern is not going to work for the longer clubs. The more I can use my body to pull, the better it's going to work for the longer clubs. And a good way for you to experience it as well as to train it is by swinging, 4 or 5 foot rope.